welcome to the Get At Gaming Plus podcast, where we talk about stuff. We wing it. That's what we do
We
today.
wing it.
Yeah. The other person over here is Ben, who's singing "Wing It." I'm Alex, and yeah, we wing it. That's our thing.
Is that our new thing? Is we wing it?
Yeah, it's man, this is already. I was like side tangents. Like we just started. Do you remember? Did you ever watch Hey Arnold?
I I know the show. I never really watched it because I feel like that was past my time frame.
Okay. Yeah, because it
But
was
I
like
do know it.
90s. There's a thing. It's kind of like what was it? The It Girl or whatever, but it wasn't. It was like a spokesperson kid. Because you know how like Nike used to like just do it or whatever. He'd be like, what was it? He's like a country like southern kid, I guess. And he's like up for the competition because he's like, Arnold, I don't think I'm gonna do this. I don't think I'm gonna do right. It's like, no, Sticky, or Stinky. I think that was his name. It's like, no, just do it and it'll be fine. And it was just Yahoo Soda. Just drink it. And that's what I just think of. Like, yeah, we're just winging it. Just drink it. That's where we are today. Um, but if you like us winging it, if you like us doing whatever we're doing here, consider following us on everything. Whether that is youtube.com/GetAtGaming. You can also find us on podcast services. If you search for Get At Gaming, you can find us on Spotify. We're on fancy little Spotify. Are you tired of listening to musicals like I am? I'm not tired of listening to musicals, actually. But you can also listen to podcasts on Spotify. You can also listen to audiobooks on Spotify. I found that out recently, too. Certain audiobooks
I
that are expensive, they are on Spotify.
I did not know that. I
Yeah,
did not know
if you
that
pay
exists.
for Spotify, I guess I should say.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
it's like $10. I forget how much it is. It's not the whole lot, but I started paying for Spotify recently, so like it's a nice time over there. Yeah. So again, you can find us everywhere. We kind of just talk about whatever it is we want to talk about, whether that is video games, shows, movies, TV, occasionally news. I say news with quotes. We're not. I almost said Stephen Colbert. Wow, that dates me. We're not Jon Stewart anymore because Jon Stewart's back.
I did see
I
that.
don't know if you saw that. Yeah. Not gonna get political or anything, but like Jon Stewart being on Daily Show, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really cool to see someone again who knows how to like tell the news and do satire of both sides, or of all sides, I guess I should say. There's not necessarily just Democrat, Republican. Basically is, but you know what I mean. So like, I think that's cool to have like a level-headed like in betweener, to just make fun of everything. So yeah, Jon Stewart. I don't know. Come on our podcast.
That would be fun.
Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern, also come on our podcast. Yeah, did you know that wait, you probably knew that. Yeah, there's a Green Lantern named Jon Stewart.
Yeah, because
He's on the
there's
Justice League cartoon.
Yeah, on what was it? The Injustice game. You can either play as Hal Jordan, or you can play as him. And they switched the voices out for it, which is pretty sweet.
Is Kyle Rayner there as well? And what's his face? Or is it just those two?
Just those two, but I think Phil Lamar plays his voice, who played it on
the cartoon. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's him.
Phil Lamar, also known as Static Shock. Cool. Awesome. Man, I'm just thinking about comics, but we'll talk about that later. How we normally like to start this show is how we talk about what we've been doing, what we've been watching, what we've been playing. I'm gonna make Ben go first so I can drink some drink.
Well, it's been a pretty interesting week or so. So I don't know if anyone knew this, but it is the 25th anniversary of The Sopranos.
I've never seen The Sopranos.
This is my 4th time watching it. So it's just such a good show. So I've been rewatching it and enjoying it. I have watched some movies. and um, one movie in particular is called Thanksgiving. You would not like this film, Alex. Eli Roth horror film around Thanksgiving. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, very graphic, very Eli Roth. But I thought it was entertaining. It's like Scream, but taking it to another level.
Hmm.
Like, hey, here's Scream's like grossness. We're gonna put it up there. Um, so I've been doing that. I have been watching the new season of Halo, and I won't do any spoilers here. I am enjoying it, um, and because the season's, I think there's a couple more episodes left. I would love if maybe Alex, you think this, we should do like a totally spoiler cast of Halo One and Season 1 and 2. But it's up to you.
That would
Um,
require me to watch Halo, and I
yeah,
don't know if I want to turn off my inhibitor chip to watch that or whatever he does. I think of inhibitor chip because of Star Wars with the like
right.
the clone troopers, but they have inhibitor chips. I don't know what they're called.
It's it's. I think if you've played the games and you're expecting him to sound like Master Chief, it's not. It's his rendition of Master Chief, which I like. There's some scenes where you're like, okay, so now you're just going completely off the far end here. Action sequences are great. Um, yeah, we should do a spoiler cast that. We should
Is this
once the season's
prequel
over.
or post?
Uh,
Where does this take place?
so the Halo, this takes place like the first kind of game.
Okay.
The Halo has not been built yet.
Oh, okay.
So uh second season they talk about Reach.
Okay, so that's what I was about to say. So it's probably around Reach era because Reach is a
Yeah.
prequel.
So but I personally think it's really good. Um you just have to go into it knowing it's not going to follow the exact story. It's not going to be that. But I'm enjoying it. I've watched the first couple shows for season 2. But yeah, yeah. Other than that, like what I'm really been playing, nothing new. I've been really focusing on Persona 4 Golden, and I'm about 25 hours in. Um, I don't want to do anything because we're gonna hopefully we're gonna do like a whole spoiler cast about it. Late spoiler cast since it came out a while ago.
A long while ago.
Yeah, but
2012 for Golden.
I guess you should have given me a heads up on one of the dungeons. Um,
That one?
yeah.
Yeah. Wait, maybe not.
No, let's just say it looked like it was in a gentleman's
Oh,
club. Yeah,
yeah, Kuchikawa's. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. My wife was like, "What are you doing in there?" I said, "I'm literally playing a game," and then uh, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying what I'm playing, which is funny because I owned Persona on Vita when I first got it. This is the furthest I've ever gotten in a game. And I'm doing like a lot more things. I'm not doing a lot of the side quests. But
Some of those side quests are good.
yeah, I mean, there's one particular we talked about that I'm doing. But like I planted a garden and I'm doing the gardening.
Are you hanging
Uh,
out with the mom who like you watch her kid or something
I
at the
no,
park?
I've
Okay.
no,
That
I've
one's fun. Or the
yeah,
nurse that you can do things with. Um
no, this is definitely not a kid friendly game. There have been some questionable things that have been pretty funny.
yeah.
But um, yeah. So we'll talk more about that. I, I really have not played anything new. Um, I'm
Mhm.
really trying to get through Persona because I know once Final Fantasy comes out, I want to play through Final Fantasy 1 or 7, the first part, and then get
Remake
the
and then
second part.
rebirth, yeah.
Yeah, but I also need to finish Crisis Core. I'm about like 30 something hours into
I
it, so
love
I'm
Crisis
almost done.
Core. It's so good.
I don't know
Activating
what happened why I
combat
stopped.
mode.
I don't even know why I stopped. It's one of those weird things where I didn't do it, and I don't know if it was because other things happened or what, um, but I definitely want to get through Persona being a longer game,
Mhm.
I want to get through it first before I hit some of these big ones.
Yeah.
Because I kind of do want to play Red Dead 2. I
Mm.
don't think I gave it a full
Neither did
playthrough.
I, and you're gonna be playing that for the rest of the year if you choose that. It's a very slow game.
Yeah, that was my problem with it the first time. Was like everything's happening so slow. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, um, I have almost bought Red Dead Redemption
On
a
Switch.
couple times. Yeah, because if you look at the Switch and the PS4,
On Marston.
they're pretty close. And
Yeah.
if I'm gonna play it, I want to play it where I can just go in handheld mode.
Mm-hmm.
Uh if I buy that game, it's over because I will play the crap out of that game.
I love that first game. That game's so good.
And there's so many side quests. There's so many different things you could do. Good pacing on the game. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's been pretty much it. Uh, it's funny. It's funny with the things I've been doing because I've been busy because of work and we've just had family events and stuff. Uh, but I started Sopranos last week. I'm already almost through season 3.
That's the way shows are, man. You can just
Yeah,
have
but I've
shows
also
on while you're doing things.
yeah, and I've also been fast forwarding a lot of it because some of it is just like, oh my god, this is dragging out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my first time watching it, so I
Yeah.
could put it on while I'm doing like work or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah. What about you? What have you been up to?
Well, let me make compromise for you because I'm not gonna watch Halo. I'm just not gonna do that. Is the Master Chief Collection on PC through Game Pass?
I think it is. I think I own it because when I bought my Hex when I originally bought my Xbox One, I bought the Halo one, but I think
Because if it's on PC, we could play Halo 2 co-op.
yeah,
I would do that.
yeah. So the Master Chief Collection is there. So in that bundle, there's one, two, Halo Reach, 3, ODST, and Halo 4, but not Halo 5. So
Okay. But yeah, I would yeah, because Halo 5 is a separate thing. Yeah, if that is available on PC, then because Halo 1 doesn't really have a co-op campaign, but Halo 2 does. So that was the first Halo I played, actually, was Halo 2. I played
I
the
I
campaign with
I,
someone.
I think it'd be fun because I've never finished the other
I
Halos.
get to play as I guess depending on who we are, like one of us is Chief and one of us is what's his face, the alien dude.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I
Um.
I
Yeah.
just so you know, Halo Infinite is co-op as well.
Not gonna touch it. I don't even know if it's still on my computer. I'm gonna be
I
honest.
have an unopened physical copy when I got that Halo Collector's Edition,
Mm-hmm.
Steelbook, unopened. Because I have
Yeah.
Game Pass, there's no reason to open it.
Yeah. Until if you get rid of Game Pass, then you can do it. Okay. For me, I haven't really been doing much. I guess I've been streaming Persona 3 Reload. I don't know. Did I talk about Persona 3 Reload on the last episode? I might have. I think it was already out by
I
then.
think you did. I think you did.
Um, it's a stream only game, so I only touch it when I'm streaming, so I barely play it. And it's really, really good. It's probably the best Persona game I've ever played. And I love Persona 4 a lot, but I think if Persona 4 did these quality of life update things that Persona 3 is doing here in Reload, then I think Persona 4 would go back up. But like as far as like what this is, this story, these characters, this gameplay, everything here, Like it is the definitive version of a Persona game, and I think it's really really good. Um, 4 is probably still like my favorite as far as like what it is, but yeah, like I think 3 Reload is probably the perfect Persona game for now. And yeah, it's just really really good. Um, yeah, gameplay is excellent. I really like. So in Persona 3, mild spoilers, but not really. I think I've talked about this before, but you know how like in Persona 4 where like you're going through a dungeon and it kind of like is an actual like set layout, but it seems kind of samey.
Yeah,
But with Persona 3, it's randomly generated floors that are kind of samey. And so there's chunks of that. The main thing is that you're going through this thing called Tartarus, which is just continuously go up, and so that's your main thing that you do. You just go fight shadows on those floors and keep going up and keep going up and keep going up until you hit a block, and then you can fight a boss after a certain amount of story happens or time happens, and then a block opens, and then you go up, go up, go up, and that rinse and repeat. Um, and so the beauty of this game is that the game takes place during a special time, like at night. Um, it's called the midnight hour, I believe, the dark hour. No, I'm getting things confused. Midnight channel, dark hour. Um, it's called the dark hour, and it happens at midnight, where it's an extra hour throughout, like just for some reason that exists, and that's when normal people turn into coffins, and then so they don't like experience the dark hour; they just kind of exist, and then shadows roam around and try to kill or eat said normal people. And so during the dark hour, that's when this Tartarus thing happens. This is when like certain like bosses and things appear. So that's when you're doing all your stuff. In the old game, um, it still happens in this new game, but they kind of just talk about it. In the old game, after you go to Tartarus, the next day you feel tired. Um,
okay.
and you can like your abilities or like your statuses for like your friends or whatever who you go with, they can eventually just be too tired to where they won't go on dungeon crawling with you, or they'll get sick, or they have prior engagements because of certain things. The prior engagements thing still happens in the new version, but as far as I can tell, there's no more like sickness and there's no more tired system. So the game feels easier. I was talking to someone about this earlier, but like I think the game feels easier because one, I think the game is a little bit easier, but two, there just isn't there's no reason to not go to Tartarus every night if you're able to. Now that there
Right.
is no, I don't know, repercussion for doing so. So you might as well just go to Tartarus every single night and just go do dungeon crawling until you hit the certain point, and then do all your social link stuff for that next couple weeks or whatever. I'm at a point right now where it's midterms soon, and so there was one day where one of the main characters, Yukari, she had a prior engagement. That was the first one that happened to me in this game, because she was studying with friends, and so I could go with the other dude. I could go with Iori, Junpei, but I don't want to like go with only on a 2-man squad. Like I'd rather go with the us three total who are available at this time, just in case as well, and level everyone up equally. Um, so yeah, the game's really good. The other thing I've been doing, that was a yawn. That felt like it was about to be a puke, but it was a yawn. You ever feel that where you're just like, man, I feel like I might puke, but I'm not sick. Just weird
Eh,
stuff.
I will tell you, if you're ever in my presence, if I do get sick, you would probably hear me outside of my house.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
very loud. Yeah. My wife says I sound like a dying cow. So
Uh,
things you learn, right?
yeah, I guess. Um, but the other thing I've been doing is playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 still. I'm almost at the end of chapter 7. This game's dumb. I hate this game. I used to love this game, and then it does stupid stuff near the end where it's like, hey, get your affinity charts and make sure that your all your dudes are doing quests so then they can have these certain like passive field skills. And normally you're just like, okay, whatever. But then I came to a certain point in the game, twice actually, one after another, where it was like, all right, you need to have ancient wisdom level 3. I'm like, what do you mean? I only have ancient wisdom level 1. Like, okay, well, you gotta unlock it. The game doesn't tell you how to unlock it. And so like I know who has it, I know how it kind of unlocks. It's an affinity thing. So basically, like as long as like your person or like the character uses this ally, this blade, then like the affinity link goes up, and then they level up certain things and unlock things to then unlock the actual skills itself themselves. So I did that, and I found out a way to like cheat the system because I had a ton of money. So like I like went to a place, and it's like, all right, if you just instead of just like battling and just waiting for it to naturally happen, you can have something called like skill, like was it like pouches or whatever, and you can put items in there, and certain items, certain blades like a lot. And so if you just put an item in there, it automatically gains um like 10 points or whatever. And so I just bought a bunch of them and then just kept spam, and then you can just like put on top of, put on top of, put on top of, like you can just keep doing that. And so you don't have to wait for the actual like item to run out of time. You can just be like, all right, I'm putting meat on meat on meat on meat, and it just keeps going and going. And so I did that for like an hour, and then I could finally do stuff and get past that part. And then there came another part where it was like, yeah, you need like 2 wind elements. Like, what do you mean I need 2 wind elements? So then I just look in my like my my other blades, like the ones I don't use, because there's 2 different types of blades. I feel like I've talked about this before, but there's ones where like they actually cared about them. They gave them faces, they gave them special voices and everything, and they're all done by different character designers, and they're really fancy since it's a gotcha. And then there's the ones that are just robots, and they
Yeah.
don't really do much. But they do have some of these field elements and things, so I could just roll, and that's what I did. I just rolled for common blades and just like prayed that I got a wind element one or earth element one or whatever. And then I rolled enough to where I was like, cool, I'll equip this and this and this and that. And then I just have it for this part so I can jump from this side to this side, and it actually lets me do it. And so then that worked. And then now I'm stuck at a boss. So this game just got really hard for no reason. Because there are a lot of bosses around, and I'm actually playing on easy mode at this point. I stopped playing normal about halfway through because the game was just taking too long. And like normally I wouldn't mind, but I still have Torna to play, which is like the DLC for this. I still have the DLC for Definitive Edition to play, and as well as I still have 3 and the DLC for 3 to play. And so I kind of just want to get through these as fast as possible. And so that's why I did that, and played easier mode, I guess, but it's not really all that easier. It's just that I think you level up a little faster and maybe you do a
Yeah,
little bit better with damage, but overall, like the game feels pretty much exactly the same. Um, but
it's so
yeah,
it's so funny you say that because I own 3. I've done nothing with it. It's never entered my Switch.
apparently it's one of the best games ever made.
Yeah. Uh, I, you know, I'm gonna take some time off in this like early spring, like a week off, just to kind of recharge my batteries. And when I do that, I am planning to play some games. I hope.
Hmm.
So yeah, it should be like an interesting thing when I play it because I've never played 1 or 2. So
As
I think
far
I
as I
played
know,
1.
each game has like a little bit of a different combat as well. So like you're gonna get a different experience even from like what I'm getting. And I
Yeah,
really really liked. I'm still really liking the story in this game, I guess, but like I really really enjoyed everything about this game, about 2, for like the first 60% of the game, because it's crazy. Because I messaged friend of the show, I messaged Michaela about this a couple days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, I forget. But I was just like, man, Xenoblade 2 really wants me to hate it after playing 50 plus hours of it at this point. Like it really like it got me. And then it's just like, hey, just kidding. I'm a horrible game and you should quit me. And so I don't know, but the story is just so good right now and I'm enjoying the characters for the most part. Um yeah, I'm enjoying everything. I'm still playing in Japanese, so my one gripe, and we'll see if 3 does this. Um, but it's still the names are different than what they're saying. And I just wish there
right.
was like an if then statement or whatever in there that could be like, if Japanese Pyra equals Homura or something like that. Like just change it. Like I don't think that that's hard. You can keep the dub script for all I care what they're doing. Just change the names, please. And they're not going to do that. But like apparently Fire Emblem has the same issue and I just don't notice cuz I don't play Fire Emblem cuz Fire Emblem's a bad game. But anyway,
Ooh.
people know. People know at this point. Um they know my opinions. But anyway, yeah, so Xenoblade 2, and then I also played Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore, and we talked about this before the show. I streamed a little bit of it. It was about $20. It's published by Limited Run Games. It's digital only. It's on everything actually, and it's digital only for now. I think there might be more stuff later. And it's a game that pretends to be or acts like a CDI game. So if you're not familiar with CDI, it's a Philips CDI. So compact disc, yeah, interactive. I think it's probably what that means. So an interactive compact disc. It is a video game. This is what Nintendo went to when when PlayStation was like, "Hey, man, remember how we were doing a console together?" And then Nintendo's like, "No, we're gonna team up with Philips and give them some of our own IP, and we'll make
Yeah.
stuff like Hotel Mario. We'll make stuff like Link, Legend of Zelda, Link in the Faces of Evil, and the Wand of Gamelon, and Zelda's Adventure, and like." They're horrible games and very well known, infamous on YouTube. If you grew up in the mid 2000s, I would say, between like maybe 2007 ish, or
Yeah.
I guess early YouTube, I would say. So like 2007 to maybe like 2015, I would say for the most part. Um, there are things called YouTube poops, which are just like very heavily edited things, and so there'd be a lot of edited things with these cutscenes because they're very infamous. There's a certain drawing and animation style to them. The acting is very over the top and crazy. Um, if you don't know what we're talking about, you should like really just look into it because it's interesting. It doesn't feel like Legend of Zelda really. It doesn't feel, honestly. Okay, let me back up. It feels like Legend of Zelda. It feels like the cartoon, kind of, because like Link
Yeah.
is kind of like the cartoon Link to a degree. Um, but the Mario one's really weird. The Mario Hotel Mario, I think that was over the weekend or yesterday or something. Um, the beta for Hotel Mario, that cutscene came out, and
Oh yeah.
so it's very well, like really crisp audio, and we can hear what the lines used to be, because he would be like, for instructions, uh look at the enclosed instruction booklet or something like that. But now we know what he's saying, and like, and then he looks really confused because he like has like half an eye open or something, and he's pointing. But the actual line was like, for instructions, press the first button. For this, press two buttons, and then he like freezes on like the two button, like, and like, yeah, it sounds really crisp and stuff. But like, yeah, Hotel Mario is actually not a bad game from what I've seen.
Right.
And then in Arzette, so Arzette plays like the old Zelda games, but actually plays well and controls well. And the cutscenes and
E-
stuff just make fun of it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was watching him play it, and the one with the horse and the horse puns were pretty hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So get this, there were 214 games in the CDI from the years 1990 to 2022. Um, People were still making them. Here's the crazy thing about the system. I remember seeing it, reading it in magazines when it came out. Nobody had it because it was so expensive. Like nobody had it. It was like a Neo Geo back in the
I've
day.
seen one in the wild once, and it's still expensive.
Oh yeah, it's still. Uh, I remember watching the Angry Video Game Nerd when he did those. Half the things he did didn't even work.
Mm.
Um,
And it used like
so
a remote as a controller.
yeah, obviously the infamous Zelda ones were pretty bad. Um, that is the last time that Nintendo gives their license to people to do games, because it was such a disaster. But the game he's talking about is pretty good.
Yeah, so yeah, I want to say that was the last time Nintendo gave their license in general until um what was that called? The dungeon, like the rhythm dungeon game or whatever.
Oh yeah,
They got Zelda stuff. I forget what that's called.
well, and
Um
Rabbit Mario games, those are Ubisoft.
yeah,
So
those two and then the Mario movie. Like those are the only three times I feel that have in recent years, I would say, where Nintendo's been like, "All right, we'll trust you." And sure enough, they did.
exactly,
But normally it's like, no, we saw what happens with these other games and all
we know
that.
what you did.
Yeah, like we don't want these games to show back up, because I doubt these games are ever going to see the light of day. I've seen some CDI games available at certain stores, but like Nintendo's never going to re-release these. These are a stain on their timeline or whatever. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah. They were, and it's crazy because like I would reference the Angry Video Game Nerd because he literally goes through, I'd say, a huge percentage of the games at this
plumbers don't
time.
wear ties.
Yep, that just was on limited run not
Wait,
too
no,
long
that's a
ago.
3DO. Never mind.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which is funny that it
Same
was
kind
on
of thing.
limited run because no one wants that game. No one ever wanted that game.
The only reason why people want some of these bad games is because popular people play them, and so the prices skyrocket, and then there's fake demand for it.
I mean, I can't say anything. I own like the biggest edition of Night Trap from limited run that took over a year,
I
but
mean, I own what is it? Dennis the Menace on Super Nintendo, because I watched Game Grumps play it once.
yeah,
So I mean,
um,
but that was like $5.
yeah,
But anyway, yeah, those are really the things that I've kind of been doing. Oh yeah, and then I organized some Digimon cards. I did that on a stream. So I've organized things that are not in decks. I've organized my red cards, and that is it. That's 2 hours or whatever that stream was. And the red cards aren't even fully organized. They're just, here are all the red cards, and they're in their colors and types of Digimon. The next thing I have to do in there is organize them by name and by level. So
I liked how you were using gloves, by the way.
well, I felt like a whatnot streamer. That's, I even said
Yeah.
that. I was like, man, I feel like a Game Fox or whatever. You know, I'm wearing gloves, and because I don't want to show my hands on a stream touching cards, because like I feel like someone might be like, ew, you're tainting the cards, and because like some of these cards are rare cards that I just never sleeve. So
Right.
there is a possibility of, yeah, I could ruin these cards with my skin oil, I guess. But yeah, just so nothing would happen, I was like, yeah, I'll just wear gloves. I have gloves here, so that's what we ended up doing. So I kind of wanted to, again, we're winging it today, right? So like we're
Yeah.
conversational podcasts, and that's what we are first and foremost. I have no agenda. I'm gonna be honest with the audience here. I have no agenda at all, or schedule or whatever outline. I realize that agenda has a double meaning nowadays,
Yeah.
so that's why I didn't want to continue saying that. So Ben has no idea what I'm gonna say. Do I have any idea what I'm gonna say? Probably not either. But I kind of wanted to talk about, as we have just been talking, um, what's your experience, I guess. What were we talking about? N64. And then we, before the show, we were talking about N64. You said it's like the birth date of that soon, right?
Yeah. So I always like to look up birthdays of video game consoles stuff. So the N64 came out September 29th, 1996.
Okay, September,
Um,
so it's not even super close yet.
yeah.
But that led into another conversation, because we talked about some other things. We've done this conversation before with Spencer back when, but like that was like 4 years ago. So like we can really go back into this now, because I probably still have notes on my phone. But like, what are your memories of like stores that no longer exist?
Yes.
Whether that is like video games, rental stores, um, toy stores, like go, be free, go wild, because like I'm curious, because you brought
No.
up something that I recognize the what it looked like the logo, but I've never set foot in one before. I already forget what it was, but like there's other things as well that like I think there's like one Suncoast technically left, or there's like a few of them, and the rest of them are still just FYE. So it's like Suncoast, for example, is a thing that we both could say like, yeah, that doesn't exist anymore technically, and like we've been to one. You worked at one, um, and so, but like, yeah, what are some of those? Like, you can go first, and then I'll chime in a little bit.
Yeah. uh, I'm not gonna go through like a giant list, but one that we were talking about was a store called Service Merchandise. And where I lived, there was one in the we used to go every now and then. They had an Atari 2600 in there, and so like a test model, so you could play it. Um, obviously, I was like super young, but it was like a weird. It was a smaller Walmart with no groceries, so you could buy like small appliances. You could buy some clothes. They had a toy section, you know, uh, some
It's like a
electronics.
Kmart.
Yeah, basically. But I remember like buying things there when I was a child, and their prices were pretty reasonable back then. I think the one that was one that stuck out in my mind from a long time ago, and a lot of the people that listen will probably remember Funkoland. Um, so where I lived, we had nothing. We had a Walmart, and that was it. When I got my license and I had just graduated, the first thing I did was drive 45 minutes away, no GPS, figuring out where this place was, and I went inside my first Funkoland and was mind was blown. Um, they had at this point, you're looking at 95. So Super Nintendo was out. Nintendo was kind of phased out at this point. They're really focusing on
64
um,
coming soon.
yep. And so it was crazy because the Sony PlayStation was on the horizon. Um, but like it was cool because I remember getting the game magazines with the list of like, hey, you want to trade your game in? Send it to us, and we'll give you money. And that was like the first type of trades. But what really was cool was here's a video game store you could go in, and everything was like there. So they
Mhm.
had all the systems. They had a whole bin of Nintendo stuff there for 25 cents to a dollar. Um, which I don't remember what exactly was in there, but I'm pretty sure, and some were in box, some were loose. Most were loose, but they had some in box. I'm pretty sure you could probably go through there and get a little Samson, which is now, 3-4 grand.
Yeah.
They probably had those in there. Um, I don't think they had a stadium events, but they would have like a Bonks adventure. But it was cool because you're seeing all these video games for the first time, just out there.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the only other one I want to talk about, and you may or may not remember, in the mall where we live, there used to be a KB Toys.
Yes, there did. Yep.
Yeah.
I used to go there all the
And
time.
I worked in the mall. So here's my breaks when
Because
I
you're
was
right
working.
across from it.
Yeah. So I would either go to KB Toys to see what they had, or I would go to Aladdin's Castle and play a couple. If you remember that,
So when I went there, though, it wasn't called Aladdin's Castle. It was called Sultan's Palace or something.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was called both at a time, though.
One of the guys that ran it knew me really well.
Yeah.
So he always hooked me up with free tokens. Um,
I miss that place. That place is now a Panda Express.
Yeah, but like it was cool because you could do that. But this is like when malls were thriving. Our mall now is just like a flea market.
It really
You
is.
know, I mean, there's a bunch of stores that are like people just rent them out. But like it was cool because like you could go into KB and they had all the toys and video games and stuff like that. I remember going in there as they were closing, and just everything was discounted to crap.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing left in there. It was sad. It was really was sad. Those are kind of a couple of mine,
Yeah.
which is funny. We were talking before the podcast, and Alex is like, "What's this service merchandise?" And so I pulled it up what it looked like, and then he's like, "I remember it vaguely, but but like, what about you? Like, what are some that you were like that you remember in your youth?"
Yeah, so like one of them specifically that comes to mind is, well, one was KB Toys, but I don't really want to touch on that because you already kind of did. Um, but no, I remember going to KP Toys and they had like that. It's kind of like my desk, kind of like a weird like half circle, I
Oh
want to
yeah,
say, type counter, and then behind them they had the glass. It was kind of like GameStop or something, except like they had glass behind them and that's where all the games were. And they would grab you your game or whatever that you would get. And I don't want to be I don't want to be generic or anything, so I'm not gonna say like Toys R Us because nah. Toys R Us lasted long enough. Toys R Us lasted during the amiibo craze, like so. Toys R Us is, yeah, that's not something I want to talk about. So, um, also in the mall was Babbage's.
I remember that.
Babbage's turned into EB Games because I believe EB Games bought out Babbage's, and then GameStop bought EB Games. So for the longest time, that corner store in our mall was a game store. Now I think it's like a suit store or something. Um,
Yeah.
something like that because the GameStop moved, but into a worse location in my opinion. Even though it's bigger, it's worse. But yeah, I remember going to Babbage's specifically. I forget how long Babbage's was open for though, because no, I guess that might have been a Games or EB Games still at that point. I remember them having DVDs. I even remember them having like Red versus Blue on DVD. But that might have been one of their EB Games. But no, I remember going there because they had a bunch of different games there. And they also had they had Zoids.
Oh yeah.
They had Zoids in like the left corner, I believe, like when you walk in, and they had like model kits and stuff like that, like toys, and like Japanese things. Like they had really cool like Japanese things that were there. And then if you continue walking down, you would go and you would see like, oh, here's your Super Nintendo games, here's your N64 games, your PS1, PS2. I want to say the last thing that I bought from Babbage's, no, that might have been EB Games again. See, because it's all the same to me, unfortunately. But like my early memories is like, yeah, we went to Babbage's because I would get like Super Nintendo games or Game Gear games or whatever, or maybe like an N64 game here or there, or PC, because I remember PC games were fairly cheap at that time. But then at a certain point, like I remember, I think the last game I got from EB Games was, unless it was somewhere in between, it might have been Babbage's, was Star Ocean for the PS2, because I had issues with it. Because I had 2 discs or whatever, and I got to like the second disc, and then the second disc didn't work. And so
Oh, that's the
thankfully,
worst.
and I had it for a while too, so like thankfully like the person was like understanding, because I'm like, how was I supposed to know that this second disc wasn't gonna work? Because like who got to the second disc like for real? You know what I mean? Like it's a
Right.
long PS2 game. So yeah, I remember doing that, but yeah, no, I remember Babbage's for sure. I remember KB Toys for sure, and then I've talked about this before, but um, you would, we would go to places where another place that doesn't exist. We would go to anymore. We would go to Sears, and
Oh yeah.
Sears had a bunch of different toys and games and video games and electronics and stuff. Like I remember going there, and they would have demos there, as well as I remember specifically, I've told the story before in our previous episodes and probably a few other times because I always just remember it. Um, in like the kids section, like kids clothes section, I want to say, in the back, they had a N64 like stand up demo in the kids section. It wasn't in the electronics like how the other games and stuff were. It was just a demo for the N64, and that's it. Wait, actually, no, that's not it. And then also they had the, you know how like Sears would have, I guess Kohl's is kind of the same. They had a bunch of like just random like checkout places, like these like desks that were essentially just checkout places if you did need to check out. And so they had stuff up there, and I probably still have all these at my parents' house, but they had a lot of like stuffed animal type things or like keychain things. So I have somewhere, I have a Banjo Kazooie that is like a backpack, um, like thing where like it like hooks onto a backpack, and then there's a banjo, and then Kazooie's in like the in his backpack and all of that. And then there's also like a stuffed animal like Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Donkey Kong, Funky Kong, Diddy Kong, and then up every color of Yoshi. And I remember there was even one part that I have somewhere where there's a Yoshi that you can actually click on, like its stomach, and it even make like the Yoshi noise. Um,
It's so crazy. So
and those are somewhere in
um,
my parents' house.
I want to bring up a point from a YouTuber I watch, Mort's Garage. I don't know if you've watched the newest one yet.
No,
So I like Mort's Garage because he always has like sometimes he just does like game hunting videos, but or like going to the flea markets, or hey, let's pick some games see if they were good or not. This was one that he's doing. It's a challenge to finish up his N64 collection.
yeah,
Um, but it took like a whole different turn when he started talking about collecting and talking about the emotional thing that we get as some gamers get with collecting. Like I know when I hold a Nintendo cart, that's an emotion for me of hey, I played this with my brother,
yep,
or like gosh, I remember playing these on the weekend.
yeah.
But I feel like everything we're talking about now, like if you look at our faces as we talk about, some of the stuff in our mall, like that emotional like contact and that emotion that we have of our memory, we're getting from this. Like when we were talking about the arcade, like you smiled.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Some
I
of these,
remember that place.
yeah, and it's a
Cruising
crazy
USA
thing. I used to go play Tekken Tag is what I used to play.
or whatever that bubble thing is, and it was
Oh
like
yeah,
I don't know the lights. I never understood that, but
yeah.
it was
But
always there.
I wanted to bring that point because I feel like this kind of goes in with life as you get older. You have these emotional contacts, whether they're physical or they're like memories like this. When I moved to where we live, I was super young. This is I'm gonna date myself. This is 26 years ago. I moved here. And so our mall at the time was thriving. I worked at Finish Line. I was one of the cool
Oh,
kids. Yeah, I was a cool kid
me
working at
too.
Finish Line.
I was probably there. This
Yeah,
young kid getting some shoes.
I had like so many pairs of shoes. You would never believe how many shoes I had. But like it was cool because I would take my break, right? And I would walk down and I would get something to eat real quick because we only got like 30 minutes, right?
Yeah,
Um, or I would get off early and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go down to the arcade.
go to that
And they
Burger
always,
King.
yeah, I ate at that Burger King a lot. And then if I was hungover, I would go to the drugstore that was over there to grab stuff for, because there was used to be a drugstore.
Yeah,
The one lady was so mean though. She was some old bitter lady, and she'd always be like, even if you weren't hungover, maybe you had the flu, it didn't matter. You were hungover.
hmm,
Young kids always hungover.
yeah.
But like these things of our mall now, it's sad going in our mall now because our mall is it's not what it was. It is
They
not.
close at like 7 every day, which is
Yeah,
crazy to me.
yeah. I mean, walking through there, I remember working at Christmas and it being like swamped. Right, I was there for Christmas this year just because I had to pick up something.
Hmm.
Nobody was there. I mean,
Yeah,
the part with Santa was busy, but that was it. Um,
yeah.
but like
COVID definitely killed the malls for sure.
oh yeah, and I just a lot of stores have closed, and there's a lot of stores that people have like good for people that are starting their own businesses. But I didn't mean to interrupt you on it, but I want to say that Mort's point about the emotional attachment to like collecting or whatnot, which was crazy because the one he connects the most with the game made me think of you, Banjo Kazooie.
Oh yeah,
And I don't want to like
I used to have
I don't want
nightmares.
to
I love
I
that
don't want to
game, but I
rant.
used to have nightmares about Gruntilla.
Oh yeah, she was kind of scary.
She was.
But like his emotional contact to that game is definitely if you have not followed or watched Mort's Garage, he is one of my favorite YouTubers to watch.
He's so
Uh,
good and like you said, like genuine.
yeah. Can I go on a tangent
Yeah,
real quick?
yeah, for sure.
And Alex knows this. So he had a video where he talked about um he was going to a scene where they were doing like it was like a thing for people to sell video games at, and he is a reseller to pay for his collecting, which is perfectly fine by me. So he was going, and then people, if they would say trick or treat, he would give them video games,
Mhm.
like sealed. He had like tons of games, and they're mostly the same games. So my sons were watching, and at this time they were 5 and 6, and they're like, "Oh man, we need to go where Mort lives and do that." But he lives in California, which we're not going to drive to California to do that. And so I posted a comment, and then he said, "Hey, message me." I
Mhm.
did, and then I called Alex, and Alex saw the video. Uh, it is the coolest thing that somebody would do this for them, and they got, what was it, Plants vs Zombie for PS4, and then Star Wars Battlefront. Um, he didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
He never did. And then he didn't have to make a video about it, but he did. And it's like a specific. I know I probably shouldn't have, but I sent the link to Alex
Yeah.
to watch it. But
Yeah, it's
the
like it's an unlisted video. Who knows? It might still be unlisted. It might just still be on his
yeah,
thing if you click on it again.
the fact that he did that, too cool. In my mind, that's the coolest thing that he didn't have to do. And I liked him because of that. But like, if you watch his videos are very good. Sometimes he does a point, like the one where he went back to his old, where he used to live.
Mhm.
That video uh, was great. I think YouTube, there's a bunch of things you're like, oh, that's dumb. But his videos have always been worthwhile, even if it's like where they pick the games off the shelf and they either rank them.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to like say, oh my gosh, you should go watch him, but Alex has watched him too. He's got really good content. If you've not already, you should definitely be following or watching him.
Yeah, definitely. He's just really good at like just what he does. Um and I want those boxes that he's always sponsored by. I forget what those are called, but
Yeah, the one he was doing, not this time around, but the one before, were they're candles based off like role playing game stuff.
huh.
I was like, that is super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um but I forget what we're talking about. Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. But yeah, to go back into your tangent. You brought up like yeah, emotion and stuff like that, and emotional connections cuz like behind me, not necessarily this game up there, Animaniacs, but I used to play the Game Boy version a lot with like my sister, my older sister. Um, I used to play like when you were like, yeah, you had a emotional attachment to like an NES game or something because you're like, yeah, you play this with your brother. Like I can think of certain games where I'm just like, yeah, Uniracers. I played that with my cousins. I played or my sister. Or I played Turtles in Time or the Power Rangers platformer game. Just stuff like that. So yeah, definitely things that were a younger time when things are all bright eyed and I don't know, you know,
I think in that time
life
frame though, we were talking about with
life finds
some
a
of
way.
these stores, that was just I hate to say it, and I'm not being political or anything along those lines. It was just like a simpler time frame, you know?
Yeah, like you have to think about it because like bad stuff was probably happening around us. It's like when like back in my day, I could ride my bike all the way to Happy Hollow, whatever. I just said a place, but who cares? I could go somewhere and uh go to this school or this park or whatever, and I was 10 or 9 or 8 or whatever, and no one bats an eye. Um, but now, like, we're more aware of the bad things that happen because we have our phones all the time.
Right.
I mean, yeah, Amber Alerts, I guess, existed at the time, but I don't think we heard them as much as back then. Because if anything, like a kid would just go missing instead of like being plastered everywhere. Um, but also like yeah, you don't have social media or things like that to like lure people out either. But like yeah, no, like you said, like it was a simpler time for sure, where we could just pretty much do whatever we wanted, but also I don't know, just weird times that we're in, simpler times, weirder times, but um I don't know where I was going with that, but um yeah, but anyway, yeah, I definitely do think about those good times of like where playing games or I don't know, running around outside, just the simpler things that we would do compared to nowadays where like I live in this room and I don't do much. I don't leave this chair. I go from, you can't see it, I go from this bed to this chair to this bed to this chair, occasional bathroom. But yeah, that's my life. And yeah, but thankfully, I guess, thankfully though, because of stuff like Magic Mind, I have the ability and just like the energy to live in this day and age.
Right.
To actually like do well and achieve and just be focused and awake. Like, man, I've really been noticing it a lot this lately for Magic Mind right now. Like I I made the mistake of not like drinking one, I guess, like a couple days. And then I got back onto it. I was like, wow, there definitely is a difference for sure. Like I regret it like not staying on it. Because it definitely just helps you out for sure, keeps you awake, keeps you that fatigue away. Like me who for the longest time, I mean, we're not getting any younger. For the longest time, like I would either like drink soda and caffeinated things, drink a bunch of coffee. But now, like, I guess I don't have one beside me. I did have one last time, but with Magic Mind, with that, I now just have the energy to be awake and do my job well. I don't feel like I'm a corporate zombie. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm actually someone who has the mental capacity and the just I don't know. There's like no brain fog or anything. I can just do my job and do it right.
I feel for me, it was always the fact of like a couple, and I hate to say it, but I was doing sometimes energy drink in the morning, coffee in the afternoon. And, you know, when I would, at my age, I shouldn't be doing any of these heavy ones, usually with a large amount of caffeine in them. Um, they're not really kind of the healthiest when you're reading through ingredients. It's weird ingredients. The one thing I did like is I like the way I felt after I took it for a while. After that first, once you get to that third day of taking it, every day, you feel completely different. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing I really liked was everything in there was like natural things. It wasn't things with like 13 syllables in it or or things where I'm like, I have to look this up because I don't know what this is. It
Yeah.
was all natural things that I should be having in my body there. And the other thing I will say, when I was doing the energy drinks in the morning, huge crash by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's like a wall you would hit. There's
Mm-hmm.
been no crash. I felt no crashes whatsoever. And it's like a natural kind of wear off sort of deal.
Yeah, yeah, definitely for sure. And like eventually I like obviously you can still drink like your normal caffeine stuff with this. Um but I personally feel I don't need anything else. Like today, for example, I just had like the shot of Magic Mind this morning, and I'm still wide awake. Like I still feel great. I don't feel fatigued. And I just feel, yeah, I feel really good. And like you said, like, yeah, it has really good ingredients in it. Like it has all natural ingredients, sourced from the best suppliers. There's no sugar, it's nut free, it's vegan, it's keto, it's paleo free. So it's definitely um, a healthy option for you to keep awake. Don't drink your coffee with a ton of sugar like my dad does, where it's just basically a hot chocolate at that point.
Yeah.
Like don't be like that. Just have a Magic Mind instead, and yeah, you'll definitely feel better for sure. Since Magic Mind is a friend of the show, um, we have special offers and opportunities for you. I almost said opportunities.
Opportunities.
Opportunities for you. That's a new word. Get up to 56% off your first subscription, or 20% off a one-time purchase with the code Get At It 20. So that's GETATIT20. And then also, if you go to you can go to our special sites here, magicmind.com/ get at it games. So yeah, again, that is magicmind.com/GETATITGAM as a Mary ES. Get at it games, and you can go there, get a subscription if you feel like it, or yeah, just get a one-time purchase if you want to just try it out first and just see how you feel about it. And we hear you. We're all skeptical about things. What if you don't like it? Magic Mind has a 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked. If you do not like it, they will refund you like pretty soon, like within like 3 or 4 hours. They will refund you for sure. But again, that is magicmind.com/get at it games with code get at it 2020. magicmind.com/get at it games with code GETATIT20. Yeah, definitely take advantage of this opportunity, because yeah, that code normally just does the 20% off. You're getting extra stuff, so do it while you can. For sure. All right. So, man, I was thinking about just a second ago um how you were talking about words and ingredients with different letter or different syllables. Do you remember
Yeah.
Animaniacs? 'Cause now I'm thinking about Animaniacs. There's a song where like they're reading the back of a bottle and they just like sing this like the ingredients, and they're just like,
Yeah.
because just so
Animaniacs.
many crazy things that are in like
That
foods.
that show was so crazy. Um, and I felt they got away with a lot of stuff that they probably should not have.
Yeah.
It was like Ren and Stimpy in my mind, but not. Ren and Stimpy was just blatant, like out there, you know. But at
Mm-hmm.
least theirs was like. Now that you watch it now, you're like, oh, kind of not appropriate. And in some of the new episodes, there's one in particular. Um, and I'm not gonna go into it in case someone wants to watch it. There was one particular. I was like, oh man, that can't believe they just did that. Uh, and stuff. So I love it. I've never played the games. I did watch you do the Super Nintendo one.
Mm-hmm. That one's hard.
Yeah. But so is Tiny Toons.
Yeah.
Tiny Toons starts off super easy and then it just
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, I hear you on that. You know, me and my kids, it's so funny us watching like older stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We watched the G.I. Joe movie last week. Loved it. Like the original uh one.
Mm-hmm.
But like the one they've watched a lot of of old stuff, uh Double Dare. They
Okay.
cannot get enough of watching Double Dare. You know
Yeah.
what's crazy is when you see like at the very end, you know, they go through the obstacle course and they're like, oh, hey, if you get through this one, you get the flag, you get this right, and you're like,
Get
oh my
Genesis.
gosh, yeah, those like some of them are like one of them was like a TurboGrafx 16,
Wow.
like or the Walkman or the bike or the trip to Jamaica. You're like, oh my gosh, this stuff's so dated. Uh, VHS players, uh, which is crazy back then because they all got a free pair of Reebok
Mm-hmm.
shoes, and then I think later they were doing British Knights at one point. But yeah, like I remember all these shows. Uh, I wish there was a place to watch Animaniacs, like the original ones, because I think the only ones I've seen are the new ones.
It was on Hulu. Tiny Toons is no longer on Hulu, I believe.
I
But
want to see if I
Animaniacs, the new and the old, should be on Hulu. If not, you know someone who has them on DVD over here.
that is true.
I can,
I um no, I'm checking my Hulu.
yeah, I'm checking my Hulu too if it doesn't have me logged out.
Um, Hulu's gotten pretty good with stuff. I'll tell you that. Um, maybe I'll have to look later. I can't remember.
Why did it log me out? Man, Hulu's been weird lately. It's been like removing me out of all my devices.
Yeah, that's just Hulu. I got a new TV, so I had to re-sign into everything, and I'm like, I don't remember any of these passwords because they're all different and they're all like crazy letters and stuff. So yeah. Um, but I will tell you, like, uh, it's crazy. Like some of the stuff they watch now is stuff that I watched as a kid. They were getting into the Mega Man cartoon from back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to look right now. I just logged into my phone. And me Animaniacs. It is only the new one. So yeah, you're right.
It's fine.
I've only seen the first season of the new one, and I thought it was okay. And then I think I tried to watch a little bit of the second season. I was like, no, this isn't for me. Like, I don't know. It's fine, but well, one, there's one episode where Rob Paulson clearly just recorded in his home theater and they forgot to like edit it properly because he sounds like this in one of the episodes as Yakko, but everyone else sounds perfectly fine. And it's just like, really, you went with that? You didn't just have
Yeah,
him re-record his lines? Um,
that must
but
have been like
yeah,
pandemic because there was a lot of
yeah,
that.
a
Uh,
lot of political jokes too. I mean, granted, Animaniacs has always been political, but it was
yeah,
very one-sided political jokes, and they got old kind of fast.
yeah.
It's like
I just
beating a dead
remember.
horse.
Yeah, I remember like my favorite character because you had Slappy the squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
She was great, and then um, Pinky and the Brain. We ended up getting their own spinoff. But again, this was like what was really cool is like during Fox Saturday. Do you remember? Because you had like Animaniacs, you had Power Rangers, Big Big Bad Beetleborgs, just like a crazy like
Fox
Saturday morning.
Kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to watch
Um,
Beetleborgs. We talk about that all the time here.
yeah, it's so crazy because I on Tubi you can actually look it up and they have the original show that where they got the footage from,
Okay.
uh, and they also have like all of the original seasons of Super Sentai,
Mm.
which is crazy because you're watching it and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like a Power Ranger episode without all the weird kind of dialogue there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think uh, this 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 has definitely been like a walk through nostalgia today, um, which is good. I think it's good to kind of have these talks. It's so funny when I was younger, when older people that I would talk to would have these nostalgic walkthrough talks, I'd be like, "Oh my god, you're so old," and now I'm sitting in the opposite of where I was thinking that.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
here's the thing though. Our generation is cool, and that's what we think. But like if you talk to like one of your sons right now and make them listen to this episode, they'll be like, "Man, they're so old. I'm going to get back to playing my Call of Duty or whatever."
Oh no, he is sworn off of Call of Duty right now.
Really?
Something happened, and he's like, "I don't want to do it anymore," and so now he just does Fortnite. Now that he's especially now they have that Disney thing that's happening here pretty soon.
Mhm.
Um, but like he's like, I can jump on with all my buddies. We can play all together. It's a super quick jump on, play. Something happened on Call of Duty. I think he said the one thing was there was just so many people cheating,
Yeah.
and it's the EA can't keep up with the people that are cheating. And so Fortnite has built in things of like, oh, if you get caught cheating, it will find out and you're gonna get banned like super quick. And so people usually don't try it anymore. Also, what games do you know that you can play as Peter Griffin?
The Family Guy game for PSP.
Yes. Uh, I mean, how many characters do they actually have in that game that have been licensed out?
Too many.
Do you know? I mean, yeah,
It's
and
going to be
now
more.
they have, yeah, yeah. I mean, I will. Here's my thought: when they let you play as an Ewok, I will play Fortnite. Just throwing it out there to the listeners. When I can play as an Ewok or a sand person from Star Wars, I will play the game.
Here's the problem though. I don't think you would be able to because they're too small.
Mm.
There's a certain like height that you have to be in order to. If anything, like an Ewok or um what do you call it? A Jawa. Um they would be too small, so they'd probably be like backpacks or something. But
Yeah,
I guess a sand person, they're big enough. Like, yeah, they could probably be something. Just
and
play
they
as
have to.
Boba Fett. I'm sure Boba Fett's in the game already.
I think him and Mandalorian are in it. I think there's a couple Jedi's. Um,
Yeah.
God, I still remember my son playing it and calling me upstairs when they showed the clip from the new Star Wars movies they were doing
Hmm.
during a Fortnite thing. I'm like, how many times have these servers crashed?
Yeah.
So sorry, I went on a huge tangent there.
Now you're good, but you know, it's the end of the podcast where we I don't know, we end the podcast. If you like us ending the podcast, go to youtube.com/GetAtGaming and listen to all the podcasts and watch all the podcasts and listen to them end. If you don't like YouTube because you're like, man, Google's bad, well, you can go to Spotify. I think that's not Google, I hope.
Nope.
um and you can go there and listen to us on Spotify. Just search for Get At Gaming in the podcast there. You can also find us on iTunes. You can find us on pretty much any podcast service. We're on Amazon. We're on Pandora. We're on iHeartRadio, I guess. Yeah, we're on all the things. If you're once you're done listening to your new episode of Pod Meets World or Fake Doctors, Real Friends, why don't you listen to your real favorite show and listen to Get At Gaming? Um, yeah, we're planning on doing something. We'll write more on social media, so be on the lookout for that, especially when this episode airs. There probably will be something at the time that says what is happening necessarily, but we're having a live stream event on March 1st in the afternoon, so afternoon evening slot. So yeah, pretty much just stay tuned for that and that information and what all is happening there. Ben, do you have anything to say to lovely people?
Just to get at it.
Get at it.